Very nice last night.
Hello, Ernie.
Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Was I free?
Okay.
Ernie,
So we're
Ernie, can you help out? We struggle with Minyan there, Yavne, man. Sometimes you need to try to come and help.
Okay.
Please.
Yud Aleph Amad Aleph. Kol ha'shoarim shayu sham lo haya lahem mezuzah. The gates in the Beis HaMikdash did not have a mezuzah. Chutz mi-Shar Nikanor. Shar Nikanor was the gate that opened up into the Azor from the east. Shelifni mimeno Lishkas Parhedim, that was right in front of Lishkas Parhedim. Both of those had a mezuzah. Now remember, we learned yesterday Machlokas between Rabbanon and Rabbi Yehuda. And so could this Baraisa be only according to Rabbanon, not Rabbi Yehuda? The Rabbi Yehuda, he goofa gzeir. Rabbi Yehuda was the one who said that the putting up the mezuzah in the Lishkas Parhedim was just a gzeira. Really, Midaraisa doesn't need it. And putting up a mezuzah in a gate that leads to that is also a gzeira. So what? The whole Iker din is only a gzeira. Not make them the nigzer gzeira. We're going to make a gzeira to a gzeira, and the Chacham don't do that. So if you look at Rabbi Yehuda, kul echad gzeira, it's one gzeira. It's not a gzeira of a gzeira. It's what, when they said that it needs a mezuzah, then both the office as well as the gate leading to the office needs a mezuzah that's considered one takon. Torah Rabbana. It says uksavsom al mezuzos beisecha uvisharecha. Not only does your house need a mezuzah, but your gates. Echad shari batim, echad shari chatzeros, echad shari medinos, echad shari. Whether these are gates to your house or your chatzer or even into a city. Yesh ben choyves mitzvah lamokum. All of these require mezuzah. Mishum shenemar uksavtom al mezuzos beisecha uvisharecha. Amalei abai Rav Safra hani abule de mechoza. These gates of mechuzah, my time in law of the Rabbanim Mezuzah. How come they didn't make a mechuzah as a place for a lot of Jews? This gate is just a strengthening. It's not really a gate. It's a strengthening to the wall. Fine, but the wall requires a mezuzah. Because the watchmen of the prisons would have a house connected to that wall, and it requires a mezuzah, like we learned. Tanya Beis HaKnesses, sheyesh bo beis dir lechazna Knesses. The shamas of the Knesses lived in an apartment that was adjacent to the Beis HaKnesses. Chayavetz b'mezuzah. So the same way, since this walled gate area has a beis dira for the shomer of the prison, should also require mezuzah. It was a sakon of the goyim. If they saw the Jews put up, because there were goyim who lived in that city, if they saw the Jews putting up a mezuzah, they would think it's some kind of kishul or something, and they would kill the Jews. The Tanya mezuzahs yachid nivdekas pamayim b'shavua. A private mezuzah, you have to check it twice every 7 years. Shel rabim pamayim b'yovel. A mezuzah for a public place, you need to check it twice every 50 years. There was a person who checked mezuzahs, and he was checking a mezuzahs in the upper market of the city of Tzipoy. This was a time where there was a gzeira that the Romans said, you can't learn Torah, you can't do mitzvahs. A certain Roman officer took 1,000 zuz off of this Jew. How this checker of mezuzahs is a shliach mitzvah. He's been sent by Bezdin to check mezuzahs of public areas. How could he have lost money? We have a principle, shluchei mitzvah ein nizokim. That's why we give money to somebody who's traveling on a plane. We say, go give tzedakah for us. Why? We're making him a shliach mitzvah, and we want to make sure that he doesn't get injured on his trip, because shluchei mitzvah and nizokim. So here's an important rule. Yeah, but if you can't jump off the Empire State Building as a shliach mitzvah and expect to be safe from that. That's a danger. You can't walk into an area full of alligators and oh, I'm a shliach mitzvah. No, if this is a place of potential danger, then it doesn't make a difference. You could still be injured. The Chsiv, Shmuel was sent by Hashem to anoint David HaMelech to be Melech. But Shmuel was afraid that Shaul was going to find out and get angry. Shmuel, Shaul will kill me. Take a calf, and you'll say that I came to offer a korban. So he was not soymech ala neis because it was sakana regarding Shaul. Tani Rav Kamak and Rav Yudah. Beis HaTevnu, Beis HaBoker, a storehouse for straw or for cattle or for wood, Beis HaEitzim, Beis HaEitzros, some kind of where you store wine or oil or grain. Nobody lives in these places. And the Brisa says, "Mipnei shanoshim ne'oisos behem." My ne'oisos roichos. The women wash themselves. They bathe there, and since it's not sneas, and therefore there's no mezuzah put there. Harmony Rav Yudah time of the roichos. So it sounds like the only reason we don't put a mezuzah there because they bathe there. Hastama chayovim. So what if it was just without the women there? Would these places be chayv mezuzah v'atanya? Refes bakar p'turna mezuzah. A corral where cows live doesn't require mezuzah. People don't live there. So elamayne yoysos miskashtos doesn't mean that they bathe there. That means they get dressed there. They put perfume there. So it's like a dira. That what we're saying is these places, Beis HaTeved, Beis HaBoker, even if women will occasionally put on makeup there, pturin, because it's not really a base dira. Amalei Rav Kahana, v'shanoshim iskashlis ben pturin. So is it so that if women get dressed there, put on their makeup there, that the place is going to be part of Atanya? Refes Boker ptur on mezuzah. However, v'shanoshim iskashlis b'chayeves b'mezuzah. So the explaining neoisos to be miskashtois doesn't work, because miskashtois, if they're going to put perfume on and get dressed there, it makes it a base deal. So what are you going to tell me on my this issue of whether if women get dressed there or not? It's a machlekes tanoi, where one tana will hold it's chayv mizuzah, the other tana hold it's butter. So I can show you in general a machlekes tanoim regarding this issue. The Tanya. It says uksavtem al mezuzos beisecha uvisharach. Beischa miyuchad l'cha. It has to be a house that you use. That's miyuchad for you and for people who live there. Prat to exclude. That's not a place where people live, and therefore they're potter. However, yesh mechayvin. At the yesh mechayvin is that Tana who holds that if a woman goes ahead in a beis hatevin and puts on makeup there, you would be chayvin mezuzah. And b'emes amru, the Brisa continues that beis hakisei, a bathroom, beis habursaki, a tanning place, or beis hamerchatz, a bathhouse, a beis hatvila, a makam of tvila, where women bathe, p'turin hamezuzah. So we see that both Rav Kahana and Rav Yehuda, the Barises don't seem to apply to either of them. So Rav Kahana metarz tamei, Rav Yehuda metarz tamei. Rav Kahana metarz tamei beisecha beischa miyuchad. It has to be a house that people live in. Prat lebeis hatevin, lebeis habakar, lebeis ha'etzim, lebeis ha'eitzros, sheptur min hamezuzah b'stam. Means if it wasn't declared for any other usage, the yeshem chayvin b'stam. Some say it's chayiv because people might put makeup there. The emes amru, but beis hakisa, beis haburski, beis hamerchel, beis hatfilah, b'shana sheneosos behen umay neosos roichtzois means they bathe there peturim and amezuzah. So in those things are pot. Now, if it has to do with whether they bathe there, ihainu hainu merchas. So what's special about the Beis HaMerchatz? Ashmi'ina merchatz to Rabin, v'ashmi'ina merchatz to Yochid. It's teaching me about a private bathhouse and a public bathhouse. The Sagadai the Chamina merchatz to Rabin, the Nafish Zuam, a big bathhouse, which is very hot and very, it's dirty there. So maybe then it would be potter. From his Aval merchatz to Yochid, the Lo Nafish Zuam, Eimel L'chayvim Mezuzah. Maybe a private place where you bathe would be chayiv. So kamash malon that no, if you bathe there, it's us. There's no mezuzah. You have to live there. This is where people don't live. Even if the occasional woman puts on makeup there, we would not. But this is the machlokes tanoim again. There are those that will be mechayiv. If a woman puts on makeup in those places, it would be chayiv. But aval stam, a regular place, different called potter. Everybody holds his potter. Everybody agrees. Beis hakisi, beis haburski, beis hamerchel, beis hatfilah. Afal pisha nashim miskashban. Since there's a place of bathing, even if women put on perfume, they're peturmin mezuzah. Mishum de nafish zuama, because there's the zuama there, the sweat or the heat. Rav Yehuda, is it so that Rav Yehuda holds stam and divrei kol potter? That everybody holds that these places would be pot vatanya bisharecha includes echot shari batim, echot shari chatzeros, echot shari medinos, echot shari ayeros, a gate of a house, of a courtyard of a city, or a refet, which is a corral, the lulin, a chicken coop, umatbein, a place for storing straw, the oitzros yain, the oitzros shemen, chayavim mezuzah. So we see it's not divrei kol potter. This Tana obviously holds its chayiv. Yachol sheni marba. Apes hashar sanu mitpeses. Maybe a Beit Shar is a little like a watch house, guard house in front of a gate. Achsandra is like a patio, and a mitpeses is also like a balcony, or a sort of a central hallway that enters into multiple diros. Maybe you would think that those things would require mezuzah too. Talmud Lamer bias. It's got to be a bias. Ma bias miyuchad l'dira. You live in a bias yatsu. Elu shem yachadim l'dira. These we don't live in. Yachol shani marbes beis hakisu beis habursk beis hamerchel beis hatfilah. That I would include a bathroom, a tannery, a bathhouse, and a mikvah. Talmud Lamer bias. These are not covered. Ma bias are covered. Avkala sila covered yet. So elu shein asun lekav. Yachol shani marba afa harabayis v'lushkosis v'azaris. Harabayis, the offices there in the Azaris that maybe they need mezuzah. Talmud Lamer bayis. Ma bayis shulchol avkol shulchol. Yatsu elu shein kodesh. So we see, according to Rav Yehuda, who said stamad divrei kol potter, it doesn't include a refed. We see that there's a brayz which says it requires a mikvah, a mezuzah. To Yufta, so we knock Rav Yehuda out of the box. Tony Rav Yehuda Kamei de Rav. Shisha sha'arim p'turim mezuzah. There are 6 types of gates leading into different areas, which would be potter of the mezuzah. Beis hatefen, a gate leading into a straw storehouse, Beis habaker, or into a corral, Beis ha'etzim, a wood storage place, based on oitzris, where you store wine or shemen, sharamodi. It's like a dome. It doesn't really have a side and a top. The sharshen makura, or a gate that doesn't have a roof, or sharshen gavoa, a gate that's not 10 tvachim high. All these are potim namizuz. You started off by saying there's 6 types of gates. You ended up giving us 7. Because this dome, just a dome gate without any straight sides, whether or not needs a mezuzah or not is a machlekes the Tanya. Kippah is a dome. Reb Meir mechayiv mezuzah. Chachamim poitrim. Reb Meir says it's chayiv. Chachamim says it's poitrim. V'shavin, they both agree. Shem yesh baragla asora. If the sides of the gate at least are 10 tefachim, and then it's curved, then chayav is mezuzah. I have a lot of those in my house, where right?
Archways.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. As long as you have 10 tefachim on the side, then it would be mechayiv and mezuzah, according to everybody, including Reb Meir. And Abai explains further. If the shar is 10 tefachim, but the side walls don't have 3, lav klum. It's not a gate. It's not chayiv mezuzah. Now let's say it's got 4 tefachim sides, but it's not 10 tefachim tall. Lav klum. Lo nechleku, the machlokes is begvoy asara. It's 10 tefachim high. The yesh bragleas shloisha. The straight part is at least 3. And ein barach ba'arba. You cannot, even by sort of chiseling into the side walls, make it a width of 4. No, excuse me. Ein barach ba'arba. Physically, there isn't 4 wide. However, yesh lochuk lashtim l'arba. But there's enough side wall that if you chiseled it open, you could make it to 4 tefach. In such a case, Reb Meir saw choykikin lashlim and with b'chayv mezuzah. Rabban and Sabri ain't choykikin lashlim. Even if you have the ability to make it 4 tefachim by widening it out, it would not be chayv mezuzah. Ton Rabban on Beis HaKnesses, a shul, Beis HaIsha, a bias owned by a woman, Beis HaShutofim, a bias owned by partners, chayev is b'mezuzah. Afraid to get more pshita. I mean, why would we think not? Because Mao is saying a beisach of a beisa. Beisecha means a male's house, not her house. Or beisecha, your avlo batayam, not public, not partners owned. Kamash Malon that they're chayiv. Afraid to get more ve'machanami. What do you mean? Maybe these drushes are correct. One of the rewards of mezuzah is long life. Hani boy chayv, hani lo boy chayv. What women don't want long life? Of course they do. So you can't keep them out of this mitzvah. Okay, so why did the Torah write Beisech Lamu? Why did the Torah specifically write Beisech, which seems to exclude Beisech of lo Beisech? Kiderava. Amarava derech biyaspa teaches me a din in mezuzah that you have to put the mezuzah on the side when you walk in. It's the derech biyah. Like we put the mezuzah on the right side because as we walk in, people usually walk in with their right foot first, and since entering is with your right foot, that's the side that you have to be kaver the mezuzah on. And therefore, we always put the mezuzah on the right side when we enter. So that's why it's complicated in your house. You have multiple ways, of going into certain rooms. So you have to walk in from the front to the back, and that path that you take is, you always go towards the right. Tanidech. We learned, I think in Surba, we learned the extensively the dinim of mezuzah. Tanidech, Beis HaKnesses, Ubeis HaShutofim, Ubeis HaIsha, Mitamim bin Negoim. We know that there's a thing called Nigei Batim, that just like there's Negoim in a person's body, and there's Negoim in a person's clothing, there's Negoim in houses. So because we brought up these Batim in relationship to mezuzah, the Gemara is going to comment with a baraisa that says a Beis HaKnesses and a Beis HaShutofim, house owned by partners, and a house owned by a woman can be metame bin the goy. Freit the Gemara pshita. So why would we think not? Lo means his, lo v'lo la, or lo v'lo lahan partners. Kamash malon, that it is a chid, they are chayiv, they are susceptible to tum and the goy. What do you mean? Maybe these drushes are correct. In the house of your achuzah. Which is Lashon Rabim. So everyone is part of this halach, including partners, including women. Elalo lamli. So then, why did the Torah write lo? Mishum yachad beiso lo. Somebody who keeps his house only for himself doesn't loan out things to his neighbors, so he's going to get negoim in his house. Sheina wrote to Lashel Kela. Why? People come to him and say, "I need to borrow your pot," and he says, "I don't have a pot." Over shein lo. So what's the din of the nigei batim? If a house gets negoim, you have to take all your things out of the house. So Kadosh Baruch Hu mafarsimo. Kadosh Baruch Hu spreads the word to his neighbors that he has things. Kishmafan is based when he empties out his house. Prat lemashal kelev lachelim, meaning an owner of a house who loans things out to his neighbors will not get negoim. That's what the uvasher loa comes to teach us. Afraid to go more Beis HaKnesses being metame bin negoim. Can a shul acquire tumas negoim? Batanya. Yachol you batik nesus batim midrash betame bin negoim. I might think that even shuls and batei medrash could have negoim. Talmud loimer uvasher lo habayis mishum yuchad lo. These are belong to the public, not to an individual person. So more explains like kasha Rameir, but that's already machlokes tanu. The Tanya. Beis HaKnesses sheyesh podir l'chazon HaKnesses. Like we said earlier tonight, if a shul has a little house attached to it so that the Shabbos can live there, chayiv b'mezuzah. Now, if it doesn't have a house, Rameir still is mechayiv. Rameir still says you're chayiv mezuzah, and chachamim poitrim. So we see that in all cases, Rameir holds that a Beis Knesset is considered like a private bias. So therefore, it's the same by the tumas negoim. Chachamim will say there's no tumas negoim. Rameir will say there is. Iboy same, and the Gemara says an answer that you don't have to come on to a machlokes. Really, rabbanon. That means even the rabbanon who hold that a Beis Knesset is potter, we could have a machlokes. Like kasha. Hadi ispa beit dir. Hadi less beit dir. You could say simply, a shul that has a base dir attached to it can have tumas negoim, even according to rabbanon. And if it doesn't have a base dira, it can't have negoim. The boy said, if I want to give you another answer, how the less baby? Really, it's according to Rabbanon, and in both cases they don't have a base dira. It depends on where the shul is. Is it a shul of a big city, or is it a shul of a small village? And we'll go into that a little bit tomorrow morning.